No, so I was raised fairly religious, which explains a lot of my problems. And I think the chief among them is I've learned to trust no one, because everyone who seemed cool when you grew up in a religious institution isn't, like, at all. I used to go to a Bible camp, which is insane to me now, because basically you're locked in the woods for a week with people, chanting and singing. It's kind of like the M. Night Shyamalan movie where they all lived in the woods, except they did it in real life.
Garret, is that microphone working? That doesn't sound like it's doing it.
It doesn't. I'm just trying to talk loud. All right. Hey, look, a microphone.
Functional microphone.
Yeah, so if you missed that, I'll go over the short notes. I was raised religious. It sucked. So one of the first kind of moments I realized that maybe this whole thing wasn't for me is I was going to Bible camp, and it was halfway through the program, and you kind of get this thing where you're allowed to walk in the woods with some of your counselors and talk about Jesus, man. And I was really worried because at the time I had this atheist friend. His name was Avery. He was like my best friend in the world. I'd go over and we'd watch R-rated movies and play Mortal Kombat. It led me to my general degeneracy. I was asking my counselor, I was like, is he going to be okay? Because, he doesn't believe in the Lord and whatnot. But he's a good person. He helps me out. We go to the soup kitchen together and all these great activities. And counselor, he kind of puts his hand on my shoulder, really tenderly, like a father figure. And he's like, Garret, in this walk of life, we make all sorts of friends from all sorts of places. And many of them are good, but your friend is going to burn in hell for all of eternity. All right, we're swimming in 30 minutes. Get your trunks on. Cool. It wasn't the first time either that something really fucked up had been said to me, in an institution like this. I used to go to Catholic school, which is great because not only do they teach you, outdated terms of living, but it's also outdated math. They taught new math from the 50s. I can't do it anymore. But I had this teacher, right, and her name was Mrs. Mraz, and I can say this because we got her fired because of all the things she did to me. But the chief among them that I remember is we were in art class, and we were supposed to draw this scene from a passage or whatever. So I decided, instead of that, I'd draw a dragon. And halfway through the fire coming out, she came over to me, she looked me dead in the eyes and went, Garret, your creativity doesn't have a place here. What the fuck? It was a bad time for sure. It led to me having a lot of issues. Chief among them, I think I'm a really angry person. And it doesn't come out a lot, but sometimes I tend to burst up, and the worst is when I'm driving, of course. And so I've tried to figure out a way to solve this, which is by, whenever I get road rage, I talk like Kermit the Frog. Which is great, because, you'll be driving and someone cuts you off, and you're just like, oh, you're down the fields of Michigan, you fucking loser, get over here! And suddenly I'm laughing, and, it's all fine. Except, it backfired one day. I was driving home from work, I was on the freeway, and it was just locked up. It was a parking lot. I was rolling down the window, I was listening to music, it was all good, but then I got to this one point where people tried to merge in, and of course that didn't go well, and this person, they were towing a boat, and they just turned a little bit quickly, and if I hadn't, braked at just the right time, they would have smashed me with it, and I got really agitated, and so I was just like, hey, you're lucky I'm locked in here, I'll go to your fucking car and make a sack puppet out of you, motherfucker, can't mess with me! I went on like that for quite a long time, until I realized, because I was enjoying the summertime and my windows are down, that the sound was escaping my car, and I look over, and sure enough, the family minivan with its 3 children, 2 parents, and grandma had all of their windows rolled down and heard the entire thing. And all of them were staring. Even the baby who didn't know English was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I probably now have caused that child to need therapy. Because now he's gonna watch, Sesame Street, and he's gonna watch the Muppets, and he's gonna be afraid of the funny green frog and not know why. And it was because of me, and I don't know. I guess in general, I have a problem being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and so I used to be a delinquent, and I would sneak out with this friend of mine, and we'd go and we'd get energy drinks at like 2 in the morning or something like that, because the holiday was open and they'd take our money. And we did all sorts of activities. One time we dressed up as Santa, because we just had 2 Santa suits. You kind of just acquire things in middle school and forget why. But one time, we were out and we were, kind of just walking along, and we were like, "Hey, let's vandalize things." And so we picked up a bunch of zebra cakes from the grocery store, and we started just like chucking them at like store displays, and just pelting signs and causing a lot of mess. But then we learned that the building that had formerly been a bookstore but is now abandoned because no one reads anymore, it was just open. So we went inside and we started just kind of like looting the place, and we found a big old bowl of mints. And we decided, okay, this is progress, because now we can throw these at cars and cause some real damage. And so we're walking down the street, and every time a car would pass, we'd huck a mint at it. And then I decided, what's more effective than 1 mint? Handful of mints. So I grab a handful, next car comes at me, and I throw it. And I missed, but the car immediately swerved up next to me and popped its secret lights because it was an undercover cop car. So I was a middle schooler who had just thrown mints at an officer at 2 in the morning, well past curfew. Needless to say, I was shitting my pants. And then Daniel, now he was my delinquent friend. He's really who corrupted me. And in case you think he's cool, he's not. Turns out, he became a neo-Nazi far after I knew him. But that's just like a weird thing that I always think about and keeps me up at night. Sorry. Anyways, so he's looking at me, and I'm frozen, and the officer steps out of the car, and he's like, "You boys know what time it is? It's real late. You're out past curfew. And what do you got there? Are those rocks? Are you trying to cause property damage?" I was like, "Oh, no, they were mints, officer." And he's like, "Why do you got mints?" Breath. And I was just frozen. And then the officer's like, "Well, it's well past curfew. We could bring you in for this." And then Daniel, in a moment that I will never forget, went completely dead in the eyes and went, "There's a curfew?" And for whatever reason, that worked. The officer was like, "Yeah, it can't be out past 11. We didn't know that." "Well, I guess can't get you in trouble for being uninformed." Yeah, you can, by the way. I think he just was really lazy, but he bought it, and we went home. And, I should have learned from that experience. I didn't, but I guess the moral of the story is, don't send your kids to Bible camp, because they won't learn how to function in society, and they'll do what I did.